let's dive into the concept of training principle and training method. The principle of training that we're going to cover, make sure you check out of those points below, and today we're going to look at the purpose of the principles of training, and then we'll go into some key principles including progressive overload, specificity, reversibility, variety, training thresholds, and warm-up and cool-down. In order to look good, feel good, and enjoy a healthy lifestyle, it is important for you to be involved in regular physical activity. Thus, you need to know how to apply important training principles in order to remain safe during activity. Training principle helps you be more effective in teaching your fitness goals. These are the 4 elements you need to think about to create workouts: the frequency, intensity, time, and type. Let's jump into these principles. Our first principle is progressive overload. This simple is about gradually increasingly the exercise load an athlete undertakes in order to see continuous improvements. Our bodies are incredible things. They adapt very quickly. For aerobic training, this might mean an increase in duration or distance of training, whereas resistance training, this might mean higher reps or increased weight. Specificity. This principle relates to the type of training that you do. It should be specific to you and your chosen sport. You should train the energy system which you use predominantly and the fitness and skill components most important to your sport. For example, agility, balance, or muscular endurance. You should also test the components which are important in your sport to see your strengths and weaknesses, such as imbalances, speed, power, posture, etc. So this principle means you should consider what key conditioning you can work on in order to boost your performance. Next, reversibility. You can lose what you've gained if it is not maintained. If you stop training, then the improvements you have made will be reversed. If you want to be careful with overtraining though, this is a very common problem when you don't get enough rest during your training schedule. Overdoing workouts to a point where it is having adverse effects on your results and progress. This should not be confused with overload, which is planned exposure to an increased workload and the right amount of rest in between. The correct amount of rest, you will suffer from overtraining and your body won't be able to correctly and safely perform the movements you need. Variety. Try to vary your training to keep you interested and give your body a different challenge. This can be by switching up the movements to circuit in your usual training or doing something else entirely. Many athletes will take part in completely different sport in between their main season to keep their fitness up while still having a rest. Experts recommend that training programs should limit periods of complete inactivity to no more than 2 to 3 prolonged periods of inactivity should be avoided, and your training program should incorporate some form of maintenance. The principle of training can help you with understanding different training types and effects. It will give you an idea of how training program should look like, which is more efficient and with less chance on injuries. Now, let's dive into training thresholds. These are simply the zones at which athletes need to train if they want to see improvements and adaptation in the necessary energy system. So, basically, aerobic and anaerobic athletes have to train a different percentage of their maximum heart rate to see improvements. Principles that we need to run through today is the warm-up and cool-down. The warm-up happens for about 20 minutes at the beginning of each session, and there's 2 phases. The first is general warm-up This is where athletes generally increase the heart rate, respiration rate, and prepare the muscle for the anticipated demands of the session. The cool down simply lowers all the things we raise in the warm up, the heart rate, respiration, etc. And this is super important to prevent injury.